Welcome to the April 5th edition of the PFF Forecast. We have a great show here for you today. We're going to hit another division, a particularly good division, actually, AFC North, and go over win totals there. A lot to talk about in that division, a lot. So we're not going to bite off more than we can chew with multiple divisions here. The big guy is taking his talents along with all the cash that he's taken from the lovely land of Antigua with him across the deep blue sea. So we're going to ask him about how he's preparing for his trip, as well as the fact that I've officially become an old man and how I know why that is the case. And if we're lucky, we'll talk Masters and the wonders that are Tiger Woods playing. Let's rock. Eric, you know how I know I'm an old doofus now?
Why is that?
So last night, we're recording this on Tuesday night because you're traveling on Wednesday. The Monday night was the national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
I am a pretty big basketball fan. I don't miss many important basketball games. And if I do, it's for generally a very good reason. I can't remember the last time that I haven't intently watched every second of the NCAA championship game. I made it to about midway through the first half. That was about as far as I made it, and I was asleep.
That feels right. My story is maybe a little bit more degenerate, but because I had our PR guy Dave Solfaro a month ago told me to bet on Kansas to win it all, so I put like $50 to win like a few hundred on Kansas, and then I kind of like didn't have an opinion on the game, so I tried a middle, so I bet like a couple $100 on North Carolina +4. So I had this like humongous middle. Well, not a humongous middle, but a 3-point middle.
Decent middle.
Yeah, that ended up hitting. Shout out.
Good for you.
But the funniest
I'm
thing
happy
is,
for you.
The funniest thing, so my daughters have become, because they play basketball this year, like fans, but they'll bet. And my youngest one, Chloe, was like, hey, I'm going to bet on Kansas. I go, okay, that's great, honey. Me too. And so we're watching the game. So I bet her like $20. Then North Carolina gets like a 15-point lead, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Dad, I want to change my bet. I'm like, well, you don't get to do that. Dad, can I change my bet? Okay, fine. So we change. So she's on North Carolina now. And again, mind you, she's 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for them to go to bed at halftime, but she can't like fall asleep. So I go up into her room and like kind of like, lay with her as she's trying to go to sleep. I turn on, it was one of those like moments where I turned it on my phone. I'm like, hey, don't tell mom, we'll watch the game on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like you, George. She fell asleep after like maybe 2 minutes in the second half. And so then this morning she comes in and I'm working, I'm drinking a cup of coffee. She's like, Dad, who won? And I go, Kansas. She starts crying. Like she's gonna have to pay up now.
Oh no! Oh no!
Like,
Ye of little faith.
You should have never changed your bet. And she's like, So then the funniest thing, of course, is like, and I don't know, how many parents listen to the show, but like they have this thing called Roblox on their apps, right? And Roblox is basically like a virtual reality thing, not virtual reality, but like you get to play somebody, and it takes a little bit of money. But you have to you buy things and then you dress yourself up and, play and all this stuff. And she's like, Dad, can I have $20 of Roblox? I'm like, honey, you already owe me $20. And so so she quickly forgot, her foibles and moved on quickly, which granted, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, because if I lose like a big bet, I'm kind of like smarting for like the next day.
Mhm.
She seems to be able to climb out of it faster.
Yeah, but you let her change her bet. I think that you're underestimating what she would have, how she will react when she's not given, when dad isn't the bookie. I think it will be a different it'll be a different reaction. May I just say that I think this is literally what the 1-800 gambler hotline was created for, was for exactly the situation where degenerate parents are teaching their children how to bet on sports. Um, so I don't know. We'll see if we can get you to cut the line there.
Yeah,
Here's my.
it's crazy. I
Are
have
you a little
not been.
worried? Are you a little worried?
I'm
'Cause,
not
I mean,
worried. I'm not worried because ultimately, like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all that kind of stuff, they're all met for those two.
mhm.
Um, I, yeah, I'm worried that like I'm just getting too confident. Like I joke, but like I have not been on this hot of a streak gambling in even if NFL and the magnitudes are like I just become like I just bet more because my bankroll is bigger, and like it's unbelievable. Like I'm actually worried for the next like inevitable downswing in my
Uh-oh.
fortunes, because like I don't know how I'm going to handle it. Like if I don't
And is
literally
this
get a cash out from one of these books every week for the next, I'm going to be a little bit nervous.
and are you this is you're just continuing to fade morons on Twitter?
Well, it's that I think and this is actually so we goof, but like this is actually good advice. And it was I was talking to our friend Drew Dinsick at the Super Bowl, because I think in addition to being sharp, I think Drew also really does a really good job of knowing the right people and listening to and like I think that's part of it. Like so we
Mhm.
model NFL, and actually last week or last episode Sunday we talked about modeling the USFL. So there's things where I don't necessarily know if you could say we originate, but like we make our own lines and we bet them. College football better than NFL, but both positive the last few years. And then in every other sport, like it's just about knowing. It's just about, and actually, like there's the green lumber fallacy, basically, where it's like you can actually know too much. Like I don't know a single player on any of these teams.
Mhm.
So, but like I just kind of know the right, like I know the people who think wrongly enough where maybe like going in the opposite direction to them is smart, but I also know enough smart people who are saying, you know what I mean? Like there's an aspect of just sort of reading the room, I think, right now that is fairly good, and
This is
obviously
also
there's
a
luck
new
involved.
take. This is a new take on wisdom of the crowds, where you're partitioning the crowd in such a way that you are able to discern wisdom from a relatively smaller group of people. Also, should be noted that the climate for this, it did not exist. Gosh, what, even a year ago, 2 years ago, where you could identify people's thoughts, and there was a lot of pressure on people to to like publicly make available what they were doing. So that's interesting. The larger part of my rant is just that how can you possibly start a sporting event at 9:20 Eastern time? This is absolutely ridiculous. And if anyone wants to argue that that is the better time, you can go directly to hell, because that's complete and utter garbage. That's so late. That is so incredibly late. Can you imagine if Sunday night football started at like 9:30 every Sunday night? People would be having aneurysms every single weekend. Just unacceptable. Anyways, we're going to get to some real football. And if you want real football, the best place to go get it is at pff.com. The best football analysis you will find anywhere, whether it's the draft, which is obviously about to happen in the PFF draft guide, which will be updated multiple times as we lead up to the draft here. And you get all of those updates with one PFF subscription, which you can get for 25% off with promo code FORECAST, FORECAST. And if you want all of the great gambling tools, get an elite subscription, which will give you PFF Greenline, our betting dashboard, and our player props tool, along with our best bets tool for the entirety of the NFL season. You can get it for 25% off with promo code FORECAST. Okay, we are going to talk about the AFC North. I do want to ask before we get into the AFC North. You are making a large trip tomorrow. You're not going to the AFC North, but I believe in order to get to your destination, you're going to go north at some point. Where are you going? Tell everyone where you're going and like the route by which you're getting there.
Yeah. So my sister lives in Budapest, Hungary. She's getting married. She's lived there for like 4 or 5 years. My dad has done missions in that Eastern Bloc of countries for probably 25 years now.
Oh, so you're ready.
I've been there a couple times. Like the last time I was in Europe, I was in Budapest, I was in Hungary. And so I've been there before, but this is the first time I've been to another country since 2011. So like my passport had expired, and it had expired. And this is so weird. Like I feel so embarrassed, but like it had expired and not like it had expired more than 5 years ago. So like I needed to get the whole process done. And she's getting married relatively quickly relative to when she got engaged. So I didn't have that much time. And was talked about on the show.
You also certainly did not do this immediately when she got engaged.
True. Yeah, there's aspects of that. But then the time when I decided I was going to go, weirdly, we had, the Super Bowl, the NFL Combine, Sloan. So there were actually weren't days. And we're busy people. Like I don't think people really don't. I mean, people should know by now, but we just don't do this podcast. We do other things. So to sneak out for lunch for an hour to go to the DMV and have all the right shit was actually a fairly big feat. And then to pay the expedition fee and but they didn't even guarantee that it was going to make it. And then it made it. And then I booked all the stuff. And so I'm going to be there. I mean, tomorrow's a long day.
What's your route? You go Cincinnati,
Boston, Paris, and then Budapest. So
that sounds absolutely amazing. Also, I really respect the way that you pronounce it, Pesk instead of pest, which is how it is spelled, I believe.
I mean, I think Pesh is actually the.
So I like
Budapest. I sort of split the difference
Joe
between the
Pesh.
spelling and the
Look at you,
pronunciation.
Man, so worldly. What's your favorite Hungarian food? I know a Hungarian food.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, the thing about Europe.
Look at you ducking the question.
The bread is way better than in the States.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think this is there. There's go ahead.
I believe this is a Hungarian dish, and if it's not, I'm going to be eviscerated by the 1 or 2 people from Hungary that listen. But I'm pretty sure that goulash is a Hungarian dish.
It is.
It's a stew of meat and vegetables, and
very good.
It's very good.
But the bread, so the bread with it, obviously bread better there. So
bread is good.
The whole meal is good. Yeah.
They do sausages in Eastern and Central Europe. Obviously,
there's
very,
also
very good.
Potato pancakes that they have.
Yes.
And those, I'm trying to remember what the names are called.
You're not talking about latkes, are you?
Yeah, that's what those are called. Latkes. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, we will start the AFC North now. Interestingly, there on DraftKings Sportsbook, you can find the odds to win the division. I think we should start with this because there is one win total that is not on the board. The AFC North right now, Cleveland plus 175, Cincy plus 200, Baltimore plus 225, and Pittsburgh is 8-1. However, when you look at regular season win totals, the Cleveland Browns, nowhere to be found. And the reason for that, of course, is that we don't know about Deshaun Watson. Let me ask you this. Is it kind of ridiculous to be like, hey, we don't think we know enough about how many games he's going to play to hang a win total, but they're the favorite to win the division? I look at that and I go, there's got to be value on, particularly the Ravens, but maybe even the Bengals as well, because how can you have the favorite to win the division, a team that is such an unknown at the quarterback position that you can't even hang a number for them?
Well, I think the reason is that you can. I mean, you've talked about on this show, the win totals, like they're not going to add up to the total number of wins in a season, right? So if you look at like 8.5 times 32, that's 272. You're not going to get them to add to 272. They've gotten better at that, but like essentially they're going to shade over and then juice, right? So like it's not as easy of a math problem to sort of go through and be like, okay, the Browns are going to be, if you look at what the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Ravens win totals are, and then you look at the rest of the AFC win totals, and you look at like it's there's too many degrees of freedom to easily go and say, oh, Cleveland's such and such, right? But in other markets, it's actually not that hard, right? Because if you assume a certain theoretical hold on, like if you assume a certain theoretical hold on the AFC and the market to win the AFC, for example, then you can sort of back engineer what the Cleveland Browns should end up costing, right? If you assume a certain theoretical hold on the season, on the AFC North odds, then if you hang it for the AFC North, then you should be able to like sort of reverse engineer. And same thing with the Super Bowl odds, right? So that's why I believe you still see Cleveland there at 17-1 to win the Super Bowl and 9-1 to win the AFC. So that's kind of, I think, where the issue is. So you can you're essentially hanging a number for them anyway. And I think what not putting the win total out there is a very healthy respect, I think, for the uncertainty associated with what Watson brings as far as a suspension is concerned.
If you had to lay a number for them, what would it be?
Well, I would make them 9.5.
Okay. Who do you think their backup ends up being for Watson?
I think it's Brissett, right? So they signed Brissett to be their backup.
Oh, they did already. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to play the first.
That's actually that's solid.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brissett kind of stinks, but he's a good enough quarterback to hand the ball off for 6 games, I guess.
If they had any clue, they would have signed Kaepernick.
Yeah, I mean, imagine
that's what the Browns should have done.
And we've made our opinions about Watson known. We haven't really made our opinions.
Yeah,
there's
sucks.
not really an opinion to have about Kaepernick. But imagine pissing off both sides of your fan base, right? Like I'm assuming that there's like and obviously.
Because the only people that are still fans after Watson are the same. The Venn diagram of people that are still happy with the Browns and people that think Kaepernick deserves the death penalty is one circle.
I'm not going to go that far, but I would say that like people who are sympathetic to Kaepernick's cause are probably similarly in a similar group of people who are unsympathetic to Deshaun Watson. Yeah, so like that I guess like that's one where not signing Kaepernick makes, I think, given again all the decisions up to that point I don't agree with, but given those decisions, not signing Kaepernick kind of makes sense, I guess.
That's how wrong. That's how far adrift they've gone. Let's start with the Baltimore Ravens because they are lined at 9.5. Over is -130, and actually every team in this division juiced towards the over, which is strange, but I think speaks to exactly what we just talked about, which is the uncertainty around the Browns and the relative strength of this division. Obviously the AFC West is the best division in football, but like this division is really freaking good. And you have those two divisions in the same conference. That tells you, how much of a powerhouse this is. The Ravens -130, over 9.5, +110, under 9.5. We've talked a bunch about the Ravens here, and we've referenced this. And remind me who it was that actually tweeted out the whale war. What is it? War
So
above
so that
injuries
was
lost
Tage,
or
I
whatever.
think.
Yeah, and basically saying like, look, how many wins above replacement did they lose due to injury? Right? Not all injuries are created equal, and so you are able to look at that in a little more of an intelligent way. The Baltimore Ravens, it's like, when you look at those graphs and you look at the graph and you're like, wait, why are you showing me this graph? And because you like don't notice anything weird about it, and then all of a sudden you realize that there's like one thing that's like way way different. It's like whenever you see those most 3-pointers shot and it's like everybody, and then it's like James Harden, he's got like 9 billion. It was this way, except with the Ravens being so far out ahead of everyone else in terms of how many wins above replacement they lost due to injury. And you've obviously cited a few different times how like the top 4 cap hits on their roster didn't even play the last half of the season. Obviously Lamar Jackson, Marlon Humphrey. This is it for me. Like if I'm betting one of these win totals, even at -130, I think this is the one that I've got to go with. And just out of principle, have to go over here for a team that was decimated last year, has the best coach in the NFL, arguably, of course, but very, very strong. And will be, won't be playing a first place schedule. Will be a little bit of an afterthought. The Bengals are the team here. The Steelers are probably going to have a new quarterback. And then, of course, you've got the Browns making all of the headlines.
Yeah, the Bengals actually. I mean, think about this: the Bengals are the team that are just the reigning AFC champions, and I think you can make a very compelling case that they have the worst head coach in this division, right? Like, I think Stefanski's probably stronger. I think Harbaugh, there's no doubt. Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin are both Hall of Fame coaches, right? So, you have an interesting confluence here where the Bengals have 10 wins. Where I see it in DraftKings, I have 10 is maybe hung up there. Again, this is all about getting the right price. But they have 10 under, under is -130. The interesting one with the Ravens is it does go against a little bit our model. We did, a little bit of a simulation. I think, there are aspects of this team that are more brittle than normal, right? Like, so you talked about, yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. Lamar Jackson, Ronnie Stanley, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters not only are there the 4 top cap hits for this team, but they're the only players on this team with cap hits over $10 million. And all players ended the season injured. Marlon Humphrey, after he tore his pectoral muscle, including the game that he did it in, they lost 6 consecutive games to end the year, 5 of them by a field goal or less, I believe. But again, and so all of that is to say, okay, they're a team that if things even get if they get median luck, they should have a good time of it. But the problem, I guess, with that, I'm still gonna lean over, but I think that there's some caution here. When
you're not Lamar, a true believer.
Well, again, I'm going to provide.
You're doubting Thomas here. You have to put your hands in the wounds first.
I know. I do have to put my hands in all of the injured limbs of the Ravens before.
I'm just preparing you to go to Central Europe here.
So here are their wins before it all came crashing down. A 1-point win against the Chiefs. And again, that is they all count. But a 1-point win against the Chiefs where the Chiefs were lining up for a game-winning field goal and fumbled. A win in Detroit where their kicker kicked a 6-yard field goal that hit off the crossbar and went in. A win against the Colts in overtime where they needed, I believe, an 8. They needed to get an 8 at the end of the game. They needed Roberto Blankenship to miss a field goal and then to win the toss, right? A 3-point win against the Minnesota Vikings in a game that trailed by 2 touchdowns twice. That game went into overtime. A 3-point win against the Bears, which Tyler Huntley started, but they needed some things to go right there as well. And then because you did this game as part of Chris's crew, one of the bigger abortions of a game that I've seen, which is that 16-10 win against Cleveland on Sunday Night Football.
That was hard to
and
watch.
So, like, and then, of course, there are losses down the stretch, a 1-point loss to Pittsburgh, a 2-point loss to the Browns, although that's a little misleading because they backdoored that one. A 1-point loss to the Packers on a missed 2-point conversion, a 1-point loss to the Rams, and a 3-point loss to the Steelers in overtime to close the season out. So, in addition to an overtime loss on opening Monday Night Football game against the Raiders, and a Thursday night loss, which was kind of fluky because they were just coming off of a full 5 quarters against the Vikings that previous Sunday. So it was a weird season, right? And I think if you want to be charitable, obviously you look at all the close losses and all the injuries and say, that was characteristic of, that's characteristic of a team that had a lot of bad luck. Whereas I'll look at the first half of the season and it's very much Lamar Jackson carrying kind of a bad team at times, an injured team. And again, that's where the thing is, carrying a team to the finish line. Lamar Jackson last year from a clean pocket, only, 82 PFF grade, which is fine, not great. 13 big time throws, 9 turnover worthy plays, 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions from a clean pocket. From a pressured pocket, which happened 37% of the time, which is a pretty high rate, 7.1 yards per attempt, 47.9 PFF grade, 6 big-time throws, 9 turnover-worthy plays. Last podcast, we talked about, the guys when blitzed. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson when blitzed last season, 6.8 yards per pass attempt, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 3 big-time throws. So just 3 big-time throws against the blitz last year. Now, what did we talk about when it came to the Rams and the Chiefs, right? Where blitzing these guys is lethal. Mm-hmm. It's Cooper Kupp, it's Tyreek Hill, it's Travis Kelce. Other than Mark Andrews, who's probably the best tight end in the NFL last year, that is the main question for the Ravens. Are they doing enough? Did they do enough on the outside to supplement Lamar Jackson? I think that's the leak if you want to bet over for this team is like, I don't know if Lamar has the weapons necessary for him to be truly successful now that the league has sort of caught up to his ability to run the ball.
Okay. Flip side. Ronnie Stanley, best left tackle, one of the 3 best left tackles in the game of football. Played, 68 snaps last year?
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
Yeah. Played 68 snaps last year. He'll be back. Rashad Bateman couldn't play most of the beginning of the season. I think he started, week 6 or something like that. Really started playing a lot more snaps towards the end of the season. Full complement of passing snaps, but looked solid. I don't think you would call him a total success quite yet. PFF grade of 65. And then Hollywood Brown really played a lot better. Now his PFF grade is more muted in large part because he had an astounding number of drops last year. Like it was a hurtful number of drops last year. And I look at that and I go, well, what do we know about drops? They're not stable. So you look at those things. I think a lot about the Ronnie Stanley injury because of how much the offensive line impacts what they want to do with that team, especially with Lamar Jackson running the football. So those are all things that I look at and I go, okay, Lamar Jackson had the 22nd best PFF grade last year. His PFF grade has descended each time since obviously his MVP level, but I think that's going back up. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And I think, if you look at grade from a clean pocket, grade under pressure, both of those like pretty much on average there. And that's okay. What he needs to be able to do is to run with the football really efficiently. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's tough. A left tackle gave up 39 pressures last year. That's a lot. He took a sack on over 21%, nearly 22% of his pressured dropbacks last year. Those are things that are uncharacteristic. And I think it was when we look back on this last season, that the takeaway is going to be it was an uncharacteristic season of the Ravens. And so out of principle, it's my Ravens this year. You're a little bit, you're doubting a little bit. It's okay. drive this bandwagon.
I'm not doubting as much as I'm just trying to give the other side. But
sure.
okay.
Let's move.
They're your Ravens. They're
my Ravens.
Look, they're Ravens. If they go 13-4, you own them. I was early. You came in. And
I bought the distressed asset.
By the way, I do have a Ravens to win the Super Bowl ticket. I do have a Ravens to win the North ticket. I also have like a Cleveland Browns at like 25-1 before Deshaun Watson. So
you have to burn that ticket.
Do I have to burn it?
You have to do what your daughter
ceremonial?
Did. You have to do what your daughter did. You got to take it back and go, I don't want this anymore.
Now I have to lay 2,500 on the other side.
On the other side of it. No, look, here's the thing, Eric. What we swore off one bird this offseason, okay? And that means we're looking for a new bird.
Yeah, we are looking for a new bird. The Eagles, by the way, I think are a good candidate. But
the Eagles are a good candidate. I love both those teams. Maybe we have one on the NFC and the AFC. Let's move to a different animal though. The Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals, and I lied earlier because the under here is actually what's juiced, and that's the sportsbook's fault because they didn't put the over for every single team on the left-hand side. They put the juice number on the left-hand side, and that's screwing with me. Under 10, minus 130, over 10, plus 110. We talked about how the numbers here for the Bengals and the Ravens were a little bit different. And why that might be. Bengals at 10. Where is your head at here?
Under. We make the number 9.1. We give them a 54% chance to make the playoffs, which is right around market. We give them a 31.3% chance to repeat as division champions, which at plus 200 on the DraftKings market is not a value. I look, this is the classic, right? Like, and I know, some teams have thwarted this. The Patriots have commonly gotten over it. But the Super Bowl loser, right, is almost like your Niners in 2020. And,
it's tough, man.
It's hard to, and again, like, it's just hard. It's hard to sneak up on the league anymore, right? Like, you look at some of these teams and everybody's going to try to emulate what the Bengals do with wide receivers and things like that, which what's then going to be the counter? Every defense is going to do, what stops the Bengals, right? Mm-hmm. And so a few positives, though. Joe Burrow was the highest graded quarterback in the NFL last year. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean we think he's the best. We just meant that he played, in our system, the best last year. He's a fantastic player with a lot of positives. Jamar Chase, if you looked at our Sloan Sports Analytics paper, the one that, all of our names are on and we wrote, Jamar Chase had the best NGS PFFD receiving grade that we've ever had. So you're talking about speed, you're talking about body control, you're talking about tracking the football. Jamar Chase is the best we've seen in the NGS era as a rookie. So T. Higgins is a wonderful player. We saw that in the Super Bowl. He can make big plays. Tyler Boyd is a year older. I think he's starting to regress a little bit, but he's a player. They lose C.J. Uzomah, which hurts them, but they added Lyle Collins. They added some interior offensive linemen, and their defense, their defense is not one where I look at it and I'm saying, wow, there's a lot of regression pieces there. Their defense wasn't built around one or two, nodes, right? They were a defense that was built, to last. And so to me, it's almost purely a regression play. It's what we saw last year was not characteristic of what we saw last year was not a 13-win team. What we saw last year is a 10-win team that got hot through a weak AFC. And that includes the Chiefs and that includes the Titans. And the Raiders, right? So that's I don't think that this means the Bengals are going to suck, for a long time. I don't think they were a one-year wonder. I just think this is the classic 1 year they pop up. The next year, everybody sees the bullseye on their back, and they take a small step backwards.
couple of things here. We talk about things that are going to regress. Joe Burrow, 110 passer rating on third downs, 93 passer rating under pressure. But that's fantastic. But you need those numbers to overcome. He took a sack on 27% of his pressured dropbacks. So despite having a passer rating that was 30 points higher than the average under pressure, his EPA per dropback was dead on league average. And if you get a little bit of regression, what do you expect to regress there? As much, and we love Joe Burrow. Like, let's not get it twisted. I love Joe Burrow. And I mean, if we go draft quarterbacks to start a team with, there might not be a personality that you want, leading your team for Joe Burrow. But things that are going to regress, throwing the ball under pressure and being successful, probably going to regress a little bit. We see that regress. What I'm a little worried about is, will the percentage of dropbacks under pressure taking a sack regress? And everyone points to the offensive line here. And this is the question that I wanted to ask you because you've studied this a bunch. Do you think that that's actually something that is going to be helped by getting a better set of blockers? Or knowing that he's got better blockers, is he going to maybe even hold onto the ball longer? Because that seems to be the trait here, is that he's willing to hold on to the ball for like 2.63 seconds, which isn't abnormal. 2.7 is the average, but it's clearly too long to hold on to the ball when your offensive line is that shitty. So do you think he will continue that trait of taking too many sacks under pressure, even with a better offensive line? Or does that offensive line help that a little bit? Because that for me is a major key. I still think 10 is too high. But like the way that they win more than 10 is that Joe Burrow comes out and lights the league on fire like he did last year, except without taking sacks.
Yeah, the sacks thing is the biggest one, right? To me, some traits are pretty stable for quarterbacks. One of them is pressure percentage. And one that's even higher is the percentage of pressures that result in sacks, right? So, you can change the pressure percentage, and I think that that's going to be something that is, so I think you can, right? I think that they will, but I also think that the question becomes, is Zach Taylor a good enough coach to adjust his offense, right? Because a lot of last season was Zach Taylor's shortcomings, and I think they're overblown, but again, like I said, I don't think he's a brilliant coach. A lot of Zach Taylor's shortcomings overcome by Joe Burrow's freelancing, which in a lot of cases provided us with highlights, and in some cases we didn't see that much of the failures, right? The sacks and things like that, and you look at the Tennessee game. Tennessee is like not a great defense. They got them 9 times in a playoff game, and they won in large part because their defense was great in that game. The Titans self-destructed a lot of times, but we're all, Joe Cool, and the kicker is great, right? Also, by the way, the kicking game was enormously plus EV for them last year, and we know that the instability of the kicking game is characteristic. I'm not trying to make Evan McPherson have a bad year, but we've seen this over and over and over again. You
hate Evan McPherson. I don't know why. I haven't been able to figure that out. It's so weird. We watch Bengals games and Evan McPherson comes out to kick, most likable guy on the team. Next to Joe Burrow, and Eric's over here poking voodoo dolls.
Well, he did. He was nails on the field goal that kicked me out of Arrowhead. But
I'm kidding, by the way. Obviously, making fun of the Kansas City thing, but no. To back up your point here, and by the way, you're wondering what do we look at when we're doing this podcast? I just have PFF.com and the PFF QB annual open, and I've got everything I need here, but. Joe Burrow, scramble drill, throwing off the scramble drill. 18% of his throws were big-time throws. EPA per play on scramble drills, this includes sacks, 0.3. League average, negative 0.02. So there were a lot of those situations, even though he did take a lot of sacks, there were a ton of these situations, to your point, where you just saw this high end of variance. I would expect, here's the thing though, He was so accurate last year, and that was something we should have expected because he was so accurate at LSU, and was actually accurate even weirdly at Ohio State, even though he didn't have great outcomes there. But was top 3 in accurate pass percentage and perfect pass percentage, and top 3 in terms of avoiding inaccurate catchable throws and uncatchable throws. So like the accuracy was there. If you can just cut down on those things, on those sacks, you're in great shape. The problem is your point. It's such a trait with quarterbacks. So that's going to be fascinating to watch, man. And I think the other thing to keep in mind here is the scheme helping Joe Burrow out. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase helped the scheme out a lot. And I'm interested to see next year, this is your other point that you made, when defenses are trying to stop them, it's going to require Zach Taylor to have something, right? And
yeah, and I get worried there.
We'll see. So you're officially going, I think we're on the same side here. We're officially going under.
So we're both Ravens over, but you get credit if it happens.
Right, exactly. All the credit goes to me.
We're going Bengals under, and then, so we're going Bengals under, and then now we have the infamous Steelers. We didn't get a lot of shit for the Steelers. I feel like everybody knew that Steelers team last year was bad, right?
Yeah.
We even though they defied odds, made the playoffs, 9-7-1. Anytime you tie Detroit at home, and I don't care if your backup quarterback starting, your quarterback the whole season was a backup caliber player. They certainly they swept Cleveland, they swept Baltimore, 2 teams whose quarterbacks were hurt. It was a rough year for them, but Mike Tomlin somehow prevails. Now after last season being lined at 8.5 wins, they're now lined at 7.5. We actually make it 7.798 after the simulation. So over at -120. I actually think we're dead ass on the market here. What do you think about the Steelers as they come into the Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, Malik Willis era of football in the Steel City?
This is going to be a transition that you're going to love here. When you need to get out with the old and in with the new, you might need a lawnmower from Manscaped, or you might need Malik Willis. Either of them can come in and make you forget about the thing you once were, the hair you once had in that not so in that all important position, I should say. This sounded better in my head. As I talked about Malik Willis, a reminder that you can get 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code PFF at Manscaped, and you can get that fresh new look, just like the Steelers are going to try and get with Malik Willis. The Lawnmower 4.0, as I've talked about, it is it's the best product out there, period. That's why I use it. I wouldn't trust anything else on my body. Neither would Eric, obviously. The Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, which is also something you need, because if you're trimmed everywhere else, but you've got hair coming out of your nose, no one's going to be
What are you
fooled.
doing, man?
Exactly.
What are you doing?
And they now have the Performance Package 4.0, which includes all of this awesome stuff in addition to that, which helps you get clean in the shower with 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner plus body wash, and after the shower with essential moisturizers to make sure that your smooth skin smells and looks great. 20% off, free shipping, promo code PFF, manscaped.com. Go make it happen. That's how you know I'm a seasoned podcast host. I realized last second that I intended to do a read between this for the Steelers. You went right into the Steelers, which was great. I love it. We support that. And I adapted just on the fly. 7.5. Under plus 100, over minus 120. This pains me. This pains me a lot. But I'm over. I'm over on the Steelers, and here's why. There are a lot of teams that are improving at a very important position. A good example of that is the Colts. The Colts may be improving at the quarterback position just about as much as any team that didn't get Russell Wilson this offseason. But the Steelers are going to improve at the quarterback position. And that's even if, and I can't believe I'm saying this, that's even if Mitchell Trubisky plays quarterback there. But I do believe that they're going to go get a quarterback. I'll say this. I think Malik Willis, they have the 20th overall pick. They have to trade up to get Malik Willis, right? Like
They do, yep.
I was in the gym earlier today, and I think NFL Network was on one of the TVs. Or maybe it was ESPN. Someone had Malik Willis going 20 to the Steelers. I know that inflation is crazy. I can't imagine that allows you to get that much more crystal meth, to be able to put out a draft guy, a mock draft of that ilk. Don't believe that's happening, but I'll give you one here, Eric.
The problem, and I've become extremely this way. I actually like
crystal meth.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've lived in Cincinnati now for almost 4 years. If you're not looking, and again, they're not the sharpest markets in the world, but if you are off market by 15 picks on a player, just stop mock drafting. Unless your thing is this is what should happen, but grow up, Peter Pan. Malik Willis is going high in the draft.
Count Chocula?
Count Chocula. Whether you like, and look, I'll say this, none of the quarterbacks in this draft are any good relative to last year's draft. Except for Trey, they're all basically Trey Lance. And that is only explaining my opinion of Trey Lance, which isn't the highest in the world, right? These quarterbacks are all Trey Lance-like, right? So where did Trey Lance go in last draft, George?
Gosh, I can't remember. I think he went,
he went
15
third.
to the Patriots? Did Trey Lance? Trey Lance didn't go to the Niners. I don't know what. We've been living in an alternate reality. That didn't actually happen.
Trey Lance went third. So grow up, Peter Pan. If you think that the best quarterback in this draft, the guy who's minus 200 he's break even 66% to be the first quarterback taken. If you think that dude's going at 20, this is not Jim Druckenmiller of the 1997 49ers.
No, it is
not. This is the real world, right? If Malik Willis gets to 10, the Steelers are trading for him. I'll tell you that much right now. Again, and it's the books are afraid. If you look at the sports books, there's not that many. I'm actually going to look at BetOnline because I think BetOnline might have, some they were first on some of these, but I don't even think that they have they don't even have a draft position for Willis, I don't think. And it's because the guy could go second, right? And again, I think he can go anywhere from second to 12 to Minnesota. That's really all so if you have him going to the Steelers' natural position, what are you smoking? I just don't get it.
Yeah, no one knows. But here's what I'll say. If they don't want to trade up, I still believe that Desmond Ridder is in play there. I do not think they're taking Kenny Pickett. I don't. Kenny Pickett, I just don't see it. I don't see it, man. And it's not the hand size, although that worries me a tad bit. But I could see Desmond Ridder there. I could see them go with a guy that is a mobile quarterback. Remember, they have had the statue of Ben Roethlisberger back there, who used to be a mobile guy and is not anymore. So I think those are the things that make sense to me. Now you look at the rest of the talent on the roster. You have Pat Freiermuth, top 10 graded tight end. You have Deontay Johnson, if you take away the drops, and you can't really take away the drops, but we know those things are unstable. Probably a top 30 wide receiver. Definitely a top 30 wide receiver. I don't know what I'm saying there. You have Chase Claypool. You have some pieces there. And if you get a quarterback that's mobile, I think that'll obviously open up more things. And this is a solid team. that if you have a quarterback that comes in who is on a rookie deal, playing well, things could look up for the Steelers really quickly. And I like over this number, and I like depending on what they get out of either Willis if they trade up, or like I think Desmond Ridder is a really cool and interesting fit there. Gosh, I don't know. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm bullish on the Steelers.
Yeah, I disagree with you. Here's my reasoning. To get, I do think they're going to trade up for a quarterback, and I don't know if their roster composition is good enough to warrant that. So here's my take. I do agree with you. I think there's a path for a rookie quarterback to have Chase Claypool on the jump balls, to have Deontay Johnson on the underneath stuff, to have Freiermuth down the middle of the field as a tight end, Anthony Miller, who whatever, he's not been very good, but he's an NFL caliber wide receiver. You have Najee Harris, who's a pretty good dump off guy, as he showed last year. The offensive line's terrible, right? So you're not.
That's why you need a mobile guy.
Yeah, Mason Cole is the new center, and Mason Cole was so bad that he was a backup for the Vikings last year. You have Daniels, who I like. Daniels is a good free agent signing, but the two tackles are guys who are both in the 60s out of 80 in PFF grading. So that's going to be tough. You do need Ridder to have the mobility. And then you look at the defense, and historically the defense has been very good. And right now I think that they're more of they're more nodal than they used to be, right? So you have Carl Joseph, who has not been good, right? He's one of their starting safeties. Their corners are Levi Wallace of Buffalo, who's fine, not great. Akella Witherspoon of the Niners, you could tell me everything you know about him. And then they have Cam Sutton, who's a former AAF player, playing in the slot. Cam Hayward's a year older. Cam Hayward's the second best defensive tackle in the league. So you have that one. You have TJ Watt, who might be the best edge player in the league. But then at linebacker, Devin Bush, first-round draft pick in 2019 is terrible. They added Miles Jack next to him. Miles Jack, again, I think a player who is more of a name than, he had a 37.7 PFF grade last year. So I think the defense has a ways to go to be any good. And unfortunately, I think to make a move at the quarterback position that I would be bullish on, you'd have to surrender draft picks that would supplement the defense. So long term, I think if he stays around Tomlin and they get a quarterback like Willis or Ridder in this draft, I could be bullish on them moving forward. But this particular season, in this conference, where if you look at their schedule, it's not a murderer's row. They have the AFC East, but they have the NFC South. So they do have two divisions that aren't terrible to go up against, except for Tampa Bay. But then they have the Raiders as their off division game. They have, they have the Eagles as well. It's tough. I would say I would just lean under, but I can see the over case. But I just think there's so many weak links to this team that if they won 8 games, it in a weird way would be Mike Tomlin's best performance.
I do agree with you there. Let it be known that I am here on the Steelers bandwagon. This is not some hoax. Now,
it's not a bit. Yeah, it's not a bit.
I reserve the right to jump off of it should they not do any of the things I want to see them do in the next few months as we head up into the regular season. But look, the positive regression at quarterback, I cannot stress this enough, is going to be really valuable, and that's going to show itself. I mean, go watch. You want to be convinced that they're going to hit their over? Go watch all of Ben Roethlisberger's quote unquote dropbacks last year. Lot of on his backs. Okay,
a lot of drops, a lot of backs.
Yeah,
but not a lot of both.
It was really, really unfortunate. Okay, that was the AFC North. I believe. Do you have a Ballsack or just whack?
I do, and
okay.
It's not for you. It.
What do you mean it's not for me?
So the Twitter account, Someone's an Idiot, tweeted out a link to an article with a video wherein Stephen A. Smith quoted James Harden, a fake James Harden quote from Ballsack Sports. Now, I'm not going to take credit for this. We are trendsetters. We're never wrong. We're always a little early.
Well, the syndicate's always on the plus, on the front end of things.
Yeah, we're on the leading. When I studied
the bleeding edge
and disease dynamics, it was we're at the very front of the traveling wave solution. Let's just say that. But wow, Ballsack or Just Whack is 6 weeks old, and now you have Stephen A. Smith getting duped by the Ballsackification of media is really something. And I thought, look, I joked last night that I was working on some NGS prop work, and so as a result, I paid as much attention to the first half of that game as Charles Barkley. But man, Stephen A. Smith is the fastball just gone? Should he just resort to knucklers now? The fastball that gone for him?
Here's what I have to say about Stephen A. Smith. All he does is win. As much as that is an embarrassment, do you remember what was the thing that he did last year with the draft? It was a few years ago, right? We said Dwayne Haskins was mobile or something like that.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy is the Teflon Don. It does not matter. The performance that he puts on ESPN every single freaking day, it's amazing. It's art. Like people are impressed when they go see like a Broadway show. Dude, Stephen A. Smith is doing a Broadway show every single day on live television if you want to watch one. Okay? Like
I guess the joke is on us in that regard. I mean, I don't watch ESPN really. I mean, I'll tune into NFL Now or NFL Live or whatever it's called every so often, but yeah, like clearly he's got the bit down and that is like, I mean, we talk about our friend, like every once in a while I get sucked into one of Aaron Nagler's things where he's like trying to troll analytics people, and I'm like, you got to remember that the guy's an actor, right? And that's what he went to school for. And the same thing's true about Stephen A. It's like the guy's just acting, right? The guy's showing up, and he's answering the call every single day, and God bless him because the guy. But is it sad though? Like I remember when Stephen A. Smith had a real sports show, right? And like being in college and turning on like PTI and like Around the Horn, and then the Rome is burning, right? And then you had Stephen A.'s show, and the guy would be like, and now I gotta pay some bills, and it's like, and the guy was actually good, and now it's just like it's a caricature of himself. Like that's sad to me, but I guess whatever. Yeah, I guess nothing matters at this point vis-a-vis that.
This is true. I'm glad you brought that up because that needed to be talked about. The fact that Ballsack Sports is made, and we can't take credit. Ballsack Sports has a tremendous product. Okay. It can't be denied. It's a tremendous product, and everyone should be happy that they exist. Okay, I have some more Masters bets. Tiger Woods is officially playing in the tournament. He is still 40-1. I think you can shop around and find him at higher odds. We're taking that as a syndicate because that's what we do. If by some miracle he wins this tournament, we don't want to be the idiots that didn't have him to win. I will say this. Generally, my strategy for betting the Masters is I like to identify a group of 4 or 5 golfers that I feel good about having a chance to win the tournament if they play pretty well. And I never want to have them be like 15-1 or better. So in this tournament, I've identified a couple. I like Xander Schauffele. He always plays well at Augusta. He's 20-1. And generally what I do is I will bet them to win. I will also bet them to go top 5 and either top 5 or top 10, depending on how I'm feeling about their game. So I went Schauffele 20-1 as one of those guys. Colin Morikawa is 20-1 as well. Really think his game will translate well there. Brooks is 20-1. We did that because Brooks is our guy, and we absolutely are gonna support him. Tiger is 40-1. I've already talked about that one. It's interesting. Bryson DeChambeau is 45-1. I would bet the other side of that. Purely for the same reason that I'm betting on Tiger Woods, because I can't stand Bryson DeChambeau. He's also coming off an injury. He claims this is the first time he's swinging at full strength, quote unquote. So I don't know if you have like a douchier thing out there, but that's pretty douchey. Bubba Watson, as I talked about on the last one, 65-1. I'm betting him top 5 as well. He's 10-1 top 5. And I was going to mention this with Tiger. Tiger is 8-1 to finish top 5 and 5-1 to go top 10. And here's what's interesting about that. A lot of the other guys that are priced at 40-1, 35-1, like you look at Hideki Matsuyama, defending champion. He's 35-1, but he's plus 600, 6-1 to go top 5 and plus 350 to go top 10. Whereas Tiger's 40-1 to win, 8-1 to go top 5 and 5-1 to go top 10. So weirdly, I do think there's a little bit relative, at least, to the winning aspect for Tiger, some chance there or some decent odds there. And I think the hypothesis is this: people are going to bet Tiger Woods to win this tournament because it's sexy, and they don't want to acknowledge the fact that he could play pretty damn well and not win the tournament, which is 100% a possibility. There's a couple of props that I like as well. One of those props is the 72nd hole prop. So this is what the score is by the winner on the final hole. And par is plus 110, bogey is plus 330, and birdie is plus 180. Now you can also bet the no on each of these, which I think is kind of interesting. But I like bogey at plus 330. Guy comes to the last hole. He's got a 2-shot lead. He plays it safe. That is not an easy green to putt on. You want to be careful there. Like bogey is just, I think, too much of a value there based on if someone comes there with a 2-shot lead, not wanting to take a big score and playing it safe and taking a bogey. I'll probably play some more. It's only Tuesday night and the tournament doesn't start till Thursday, and I'll certainly bet this live. But those are the ones that I'm feeling so far. And let me be very clear. I don't have a model for the Masters. I just love watching golf. I can't wait for this. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to watch much of this tournament live. My plan, Eric, is this. I am going to record the tournament, and my hope is to watch some parts of it every evening and potentially early in the morning, and then hopefully be able to catch up on it by Saturday and be able to watch some of it Saturday and Sunday. That's my hope.
I love it. I'm gonna play some of these bets and let them sit there.
Be there with me in spirit.
Well, that there's that, and then I don't know if I'm gonna be able to log into these offshore sports while I'm in Eastern Europe, and who knows. But
the Antiguans are praying, Eric. The Antiguans are on their knees praying to whatever god it is that they worship there in Antigua that you will not be able to log on and bet the Portland Trailblazers over.
Yeah, I mean, the one that was interesting to me, and we'll dispense. We'll end the podcast there. You give out some great gambling advice. I thought very well thought out. Saturday MLS. I literally went through, and our friends at Sports Reference, they have expected goals. We're starting to do that now at PFF, but they're using, I think, StatsBomb's model. And I literally went through and looked at every single discrepancy in expected goals per 90 minutes, right? And I found that every single underdog last week was too cheap. So I went through every single MLS game, literally every one except for 2 or 3, and bet the draw and the underdog money line for every first half and every game. Mm-hmm. And a favorite did not win a half or a game or a match. Sorry, match. They did not. I literally was that because there wasn't any college basketball to bet on. So to get to my number last week, it was literally me being absolutely stupid on Saturday MLS, there was not I'm telling you, if one won, I didn't bet it.
Mm-hmm.
Every single underdog and draw, either was a draw that won the half or the full match, or the underdog won the half or the full match.
Wow.
And obviously, all of those are plus money, right? So you lose 2 units if a favorite wins, right? But you win like a and then if it's a real underdog, like Real Salt Lake was like 4-1 to win the first half of the match, and they had a penalty kick and won. So like, to me, again, this is not repeatable. It's just something I went through, and I'm like, how are these odds so out of whack with like? And I know it's a small sample. Like the season just started like a month ago, but like all these expected goals numbers are far closer to even for a lot of these games, and there's a clear-cut favorite in a lot of them. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. So again, maybe I'm just getting stupidly lucky right now, but it was crazy how easy that ended up being last week.
Easy money for the mayor of Antigua. You lied. We were going to end the podcast there, but I have to ask you this. This is going around on Twitter. Michael Reelman tweets, "We're canceling each other over food takes today. Post your cancelable food take." Now, you get on me because I don't like read every tweet that you send. So you could have already tweeted this out and I would not have known. Did you?
I tweeted something like, "Let people enjoy the food that they like," which is a little hypocritical because we go after Skyline Chili.
Yes. That's heinous.
But I'm not somebody with like remarkably sophisticated food taste. I can tell the difference between great food and just good food, but I'm also like not offended if somebody makes me just good food, I guess.
Can I give you your cancelable food take?
Okay.
That like all Indian food is good. You're out here. Okay, what did you eat today?
I ate, this is because you and I have jobs where we can't just be sitting. Like I had 25 minutes to eat lunch and it bled into our meeting. I had a TV it wasn't a TV dinner, but it was
frozen at one point today.
Frozen chicken tikka masala, yeah.
Okay. Now I've heard that like Trader Joe's makes some versions of that which are edible. At least you didn't order takeout there, which like thank God, maybe bless each other or make you have mercy on your soul. I know what I was saying there. Here's my food take. And it's one of my food takes was going to be that candy stinks, but now that DK Metcalf eats candy, I have to respect it because you heard what he eats. Like the dude, he works out twice, then he has coffee, then at like 4 p.m. he orders a water and 2 bags of candy, and then he eats dinner at like 8:30 or 9, and that's it. And that's how he turns himself into Superman. So I respect that. Here's my take. I like breakfast. I don't eat it, but I like it. The food is good. Not some, I can survive without eating in the morning. I don't eat breakfast. Dinner, it's a great meal. Dinners are awesome. Don't eat them too late or it'll fuck with your sleep. Lunch is for peasants. If you are eating lunch, what is going on with you?
So wait a sec. So you basically eat one meal a day?
I'll tell you what
I eat.
Or you
snack?
I'll tell you what I eat. I wake up in the morning, I have coffee. I work out.
Same.
I work.
We're right there. Yeah. We're even right there now.
I work. I work out. I work some more. At around noon, I will have a banana. And a perfect bar, which is basically like a nut butter protein bar. And I'll have some water. I'll work for the rest of the day. I will work out in the evening, and then I will have dinner. And during the weeks, it's very simple. I'll do like roasted broccoli and garbanzo beans and a Japanese sweet potato and maybe and a protein shake. And I'll have that 7:30 before 8 p.m. And that's what I eat every single day.
Wow. I'm with you. Look, I'm halfway there. I'm with you on And I like breakfast, dude. I love breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
I'll even have breakfast as my lunch. And there are some days where I won't have lunch for sure. Like there are some days where I'm just working straight through and then I have a big dinner or whatever. So I'm with you in spirit, but not in truth. Not in truth.
You like lunches. You like lunches. And let me say this too. I used to be like vehemently anti-snack. I'm not that anymore. So I'm all about like efficiency is obviously the most important thing. Here's what I do. I have that banana and peanut butter and usually a protein shake. And then I just have a bag of carrots. And when I go to get water from the fridge, I'll have a few carrots. Keeps me going. I'm feeling great. I go get another workout in, eat dinner. It's key.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what my lunches are consisting of now are like wraps and salads, basically.
And chicken tikka.
The chicken tikka today was like basically because I didn't want it to go bad when I was gone.
It was a one-off. Okay. Because it could, the freezer, you never know what might happen. Here's what we got to do. You and I have to go get good Indian food. We might have to go to London for it, and I've heard they're going to play some NFL games there. So you never know. It could happen. We're going to go get good Indian food, you and I, and then we'll talk about it on the show. It won't be on Sunday, but it will be at some point in the future. We thank you guys for hanging out. We love you all. We apologize for the terrible food takes. We will see you guys again on the weekend. Go Tiger. See y'all.